Hello everyone, Santi here, and welcome to my stream. I feel like I slurred my name a little bit, but whatever. Doesn't matter that much. Let's go ahead and hop in. So we're going to continue Winds of Change today. I'm not quite sure how much exactly is left, but I know we're getting towards the end of it. So I'll be curious to see how close we... Oh boy, I do not need this bar. How close we are to... Let me restart that sentence. I'll be curious to see if we actually finish it today. It certainly seems likely. I'm not quite sure what I'll do depending upon when it ends. Best case scenario, I end right on time. Better case scenario is I go a little bit long. Worst case scenario is I end up short on time for how long things are. But we'll see. We'll see. The first thing that I'm going to need to do is figure out what I want to actually do for a build here. This particular mission is one that I think of as being fairly, like, not difficult, but very busy. The next one that we have to do. It certainly is not appropriate to have this bar, that's for sure. So let's not. Dash is not actually a bad idea. Yeah, it's not actually a bad idea. I wish I had slightly more dwarf rep. This could be fun with some stuff. Yeah, so let's actually spend a moment to recap a little bit as well. So last time, we spent a bunch of time interacting with Miku. Miku's like, I need to figure out what's going on, because, like, I saw my aunt, and then she completely, like, not only did she not acknowledge she recognized me, she accused me of trying to assassinate Ashu, my brother. This is Miku speaking, right? And sicked the Ministry of Purity on me. And we tried to step in, and now the Ministry is against us, too. So we met up with her, and she's like, I need to figure out what's going on. I need to go find somebody who knows what's going on. Perhaps Guardsman Janai, which is somebody that she apparently knew from her time here. It's clear that she's been gone for a while, but apparently the Guardsman may know something. He's missing, so that seems to indicate that he's like, I'm scared of what people are going to do to me based upon what I know. So she's trying to find him, trying to figure out what's going on. We bump into her a couple of times. And in the meantime, we are helping Cao Lin up here. We go and help the Tengu with the gangs of Kaineng more under control on the back foot, or at least as far as I believe anyway. We're kind of sent the next target for the Ministry of Purity is the Tengu, because they need an enemy in order for the demagogue Reiko to keep power, at least in her belief system. That's how that works. So we go and we meet up over here with the Tengu, and then we help them rescue their kin from the roost over here in Shiqing Skyway, and they escape. And we had some encounters with Orion Greyfeather, who up here in the Jaya Bluffs, who is feeling a bit angry at first, and then just trying to help. And we helped defend Sumai Village, where we met some people who also were like, wait, the Ministry of Purity is totally, like, got this wrong. Then we did some side stuff for Jie Lang, where we helped Zenmai, the hero, with trying to get some of her friends in the Senjiang district out of the Ampha with about a little over 50% success rate, I guess. A little under? I don't know about that. Anyway, not a perfect success rate, but certainly got some of them out. We cleaned up some of the gang members, Jade Brotherhood, and the Ampha that had been lingering in these lands. And we helped capture Meijin, the Vengeful Eye, I think is his title was, who had kidnapped some of our Shing Jea friends from back in our old school days and hidden them in a cave in Mount Kinkai. This cave right here, I think, actually. to be killed by yetis. And the older sibling, one of them, was trying to hunt down the guy, but we helped that become an arrest instead of a murder. And so now we at some point Miku found Janai. We went and talked with him. He was hanging out in the Altrum ruins down here. The Ministry of Purity caught up with us. He told us what happened, that Ashu was not, Ashu barely survived. Janai was able to rescue him, take him to his aunt, and then Janai is like, yeah, the story of Ashu's survival kept growing more miraculous with each retelling. And Janai knows the truth, and so he intends to now remain thoroughly hidden because he knows Reiko wants his life because she doesn't want the truth to come out and break sort of the grand illusion she has weaved through her words and whatnot. So then Miku is now trying to find an opening to get to Reiko. Meanwhile, we went back to Kowloon to help out, discovered by infiltration in the Shadow's Passage here that the gangs, the Ampha, and the Jade Brotherhood had recruited a bunch of ne'er-do-wells from throughout the world. The White Mantle, the Peacekeepers that had helped the White Mantle, the Crimson Skull, which are a pirate gang, a pirate guild from like Panjiang Peninsula and stuff. They're in a couple of different places throughout Shing Jea. And yeah, we go after their leader. And then, or we had gone after the leader. The Stone Summit, the Corsairs from Ilona. So, is that a complete list? That feels like a complete list. Anyway, so recruiting a bunch of ne'er-do-wells from all over the place to attack Kaineng Center, capture everything here, and hold the Empire for ransom, and then betray everybody and gain control of Kantha to make their criminal empire. So that's kind of the... we have just gotten back to Kaineng after that. And he says, I hope you're ready for battle. If so, speak with me, and we can begin positioning our forces. I should have to stress to you that we are all that stands between our enemies and the Emperor, not to mention countless innocent civilians. We must not fail. So we need to defend Kaineng Center against a huge horde of these ne'er-do-wells that want to take it down. So that's where we're at. I do want Olias. Norgu, Daedalon seem good. Now, this is the part where what I'm going to do actually is lean a little bit more a different direction. I'm going to go with Zandra here, I think. Would Zandra be better or worse than? We'll go with better. Maybe. Yeah, no. Let's keep Parias. I think I like Parias's bar a little bit better right now. Yeah, Weapon of Shadow and then some more utility spirits seem better to me. I like empathic removal as well there. That's just a nice catch-all utility spell. Okay. Then Livia... Yeah, she's probably fine. Probably fine. I'm gonna go with probably fine. Okay, as for myself... Hey, I want some water. I should probably just run the bar I have been running, or more or less run that bar. I could also do something with Mobius Strike. The big thing is energy becomes a concern for my bars, so I like to make sure I have that figured out. I've been liking this particular setup for like the base setup that I have going on, so I think I might actually... Oh, this CERN scan is usually really important, though. CERN scan's important to get through stuff. I don't need Shadow Arts open. I don't know why Critical Strikes is closed. It's at this point that I need to make some decisions about what I'm doing. I can... Oh, I'm expecting Shadow Arts instead of Critical Strikes. Whoops. That would explain why those were open and closed the way that they were. Do I want Shadow Theft? Or do I want a different elite? Do I want an elite? I don't necessarily need an elite skill. I could also just stick with like Falling Lotus and a different skill too if I wanted to. But I like having Falling Spider available as well. Falling Lotus is really useful for energy management, is part of why I like it. Here, let's actually do this. Let's put that and do just that one. And Temple Strike is good, but very energy intensive. Because I like the idea of bringing Ebon Battle Standard of Honor to this particular battle. Yeah, I can just bring... I could bring Shadow Theft. No, I can't bring Shadow Theft and all the other ones I have. That's fine then. Golden Skull Strike's not a terrible option. This one needs you to be enchanted, but there's a good chance that I'll have Vigorous Spirit on me. So that's an option. Flashing Blades is an option. I don't think that one's super important, but it is an option. Mobius Strike is an interesting potential choice as well. I mean, it mostly goes into Death Blossom. Let's actually try it. Let's try Mobius Strike and just see how it feels, you know? Okay. Let's just roll with this. See how this goes. I don't know. This one can be difficult. It can also be not as difficult as you expect it to be. It's a weird mixed bag sort of deal. So we'll see how it goes. I'm maybe a little bit more defensive, but the minions are a big offensive source, so we'll see how this all goes. Are you ready to begin positioning our forces? Let's get this battle started. Okay, so we have... Look alive, men! Today we fight not just for our lives, but for the whole of Kantha. I'll spare you a long speech and simply remind you that retreat is not an option. Failure is not an option. We must be victorious. Girudo Senso, my men will obey your orders, speak with them, and direct them where you want them stationed. We only have a few minutes before they break through that gate, though, so move fast. These Kanthan guards will resurrect after a time. I'll leave this one following me. Yeah? Yeah, okay. I'll leave that one following me. They will resurrect. So they'll tend to kind of drag out over time. That makes sense. Okay, I want to leave the archer tethered to me. After a while, you just kind of stop trying to manage them. Those ones can be there, though. That's fine. Here's Guardsman Kowlin. We need to protect the palace gate. So our objective, you can see the front gate's almost broken down. Position the Imperial Guards in defensive positions. There's only a short time before they reach the gates. Do not allow the gangs to breach the gates to the palace and defeat the attacking gangs. They've broken through the gate. This is it, men. May Balthazar guide our blades. So we need to keep this gate that apparently leads up to the palace area, I guess. I don't know why this is not the area we have to defend, but this is just the way that they've arranged things for this particular quest mission thing. So we're just going to get a wide assortment of things. You can see some Jade Brotherhood, a stone mantle carver, and a white mantle scout. A real assortment here. But these Ebon Vanguard banners will help our side, will help us on all sides. So it'll help the, because this is allies, right? Non-spirit allies. So it'll help the minions, it'll help the Canthan guards, including the ranger that's on me. But you can see that these guys have run up here because that's what they do. As they'll just keep running further forward. And of course, I have empathy on me. See what I'm saying, though? Vigorous Spirit's on me, so I could have Golden Skull Striked. They will eventually break through the docks gate as well. Oh, that'll be a little bit later. One advantage of Mobius Strike is it should allow me to recover my Falling Lotus. So we're doing well, but do not grow overly confident. This battle is far from over. Did I not tell these guards to follow me? Well, they're just going to be a roadblock up there. That's fine. I mean, not ideal, but... Okay, whatever. I wanna pull back from here. I don't want to be fighting this far. Well, never mind. We're fighting this far forward. Want to keep an eye on that docks gate. We don't need to worry about like again. They'll eventually come at us from multiple sides, but. Yeah, see, that's the advantage, is Mobius allows me to cycle Death Blossom, but also recharge Falling, which is very good. Oh, I mean, I need to go get that. Those fiends! They've brought reinforcements by sea! Move some of our men. Here, let me... move some of our men... Here, let me... I'm trying to do multiple things at once here. Those fiends, they've brought reinforcements by sea! Move some of our men to the northwest to defend the gate leading to Bajunkan Pier. The gate won't hold long. Okay. I want to pull these guys down here. I'm just going to have her redo that now. There we go. I want to position them there. They're going to be coming from both directions now. Dwarven battle stance. Ow, those rod gorts hurt. I'm not even sure who's responsible for them. Yeah, so Docks Gate is down. We just need to make sure we keep the Palace Gate alive. So that's both our challenge, but not too challenging of a challenge. I wonder... Yeah, because I'm noticing it's the Crimson Skull here. Or the Corsairs. I wonder if it's the Corsairs and Crimson Skull that come by sea. Just broadly speaking. Nope, there's some Jade Brotherhood over here as well. There might be a mixture of things, though. But you can see they're now coming back this way, so I definitely need to make sure I'm over here defending. Hold strong, men. We're dwindling their numbers. Yeah, and it's inevitable that some of the Canthan guards are going to get just pulled. It's just how the AI works, and just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. And scrap staff probably wasn't super important, but here we are. And even if you try to keep them on you, the guards, I mean, when they die, they lose that attachment, I guess, for lack of a better word. But at this point, I'm just going to kind of chill in this area and wait to see who comes here. This is obviously a terrible defensive position, by the way. You want your archers on high ground, not low ground, because shooting down is better than shooting up. But anyway. These Canthan guards are holding out decently well. Okay, looks like we've got a... it looks like they're probably going to fall down at the same time. As Dunkoro and Talcor are trying to keep them alive. Whirlwind is pretty sweet. I need to not stand there. Well, that's mildly less terrible to stand in. Please keep Livia alive. Ah, there's where the Jade Bracelet is. This isn't going too badly right now. Thankfully. And like I said, the guards do resurrect after time, so... We hold or we die. We are all that stands between them and the Emperor. We want to pull this guard back further. Actually, yeah, no, it's fine to have them on flag, probably. Probably. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing all the way back here, though. You can see the guards naturally get pulled out. Well, our minion hordes can go there. I need to go over this way. Okay, the minions should hold that side for a little bit at least. Ow, get out of that Savannah heat. Yeah, they're doing a real good job, actually. Good. Always good to see Savannah heat interrupted. Unless it's mine, obviously. And it's terrible. This is it, men! For the glory of the Dragon Empire! Okay, I'm gonna pull this guard down from up here. Those ones on that side, I'm okay with being that far out. Yeah, I just want one side a little bit closer than the other. Just to help pace things and separate the groups out. Minions actually help this one quite a bit. It's interesting. I think of some of this content as being really strongly anti-minion, but it's not necessarily as bad as I think of it as being. There's a little bit. I saw Rada's gaze go off in there, but... Ooh, a white die. Nice. White die is one of those ones where it's like... I don't think of it as being as rare as black die, but it's certainly rarer. Here's Rice and the Phoenix. Crossfire, please. Okay, I need to not stand in that. We might be dying. I don't think dying is actually... Yeah, we do resurrect right here by Cowlin. Obviously, while it's undesirable... Get out of my way. Man, Ryson hits so freaking hard. Yeah, so we have a Pep Unending Knight alive on that one side and Ryson on the other. Should be okay. Cowlin should be able to hold things. And the Palace Gate doesn't, like, fall instantly either. The whole 10 seconds will take us to resurrect. Looks like that's one Phoenix. That won't be Ryzen. Oh yeah, he has bad puns for each one. I guess the Unending Knight is seeing stars. We've done it. They're falling back. Duena surely blessed us on this day. Tend to the wounded. I need every soldier who can still stand on their own to prepare for the counteroffensive. Sir? These are not soldiers. They are thugs, bandits, murderers, and fiends. Kaineng Center is safe for now, but those fleeing rats are sure to murder and pillage their way back into their holes. It's a really important point. So, we take the fight to them, now, while they are disorganized. We cannot allow the citizens of Cantha to reap the vengeance of our foe. A very good point indeed. Okay, I'm going to drop Olivia for Vec now. Yeah, and that's the defense. It didn't go too badly, actually, all things considered. Some of the middle portion could have gone a little bit better, I suppose, but... Or some of that towards the end could have gone a little bit better, but not too bad overall. Okay, Cowlin. We were successful. We have done it. Kaineng Center is safe, and the threat to the palace seems to have been halted. For now. But there are still many Ampha and Jade Brotherhood thugs in the surrounding area. This is only the beginning, and we have recalled all available Imperial guards to deal with the remaining criminals plaguing our streets. Once they arrive, we shall take the fight to them. While your valor has certainly earned you a moment's rest, I'm afraid the Ampha and Jade Brotherhood disagree. It seems they aren't taking their failure particularly well, and are leaving a wake of destruction behind them as they fall back to regroup. At first, they were simply looting the city, unwilling to go home empty-handed, but things are starting to turn a lot uglier out there. They've begun terrorizing the residents for sports, and I fear many lives will be lost if we do not intervene immediately. My forces are too few to handle this alone, and the Ministry of Purity is nowhere to be found. You'd almost think they wanted the palace to fall. Our fine citizens have already had to endure far too many hardships. We can't stand idly by as these thugs kidnap, rob, and murder them. Please, if you are able, I ask you to go out and teach these bullies to pick on someone their own size. We'll see who's terrified when I'm done with them. There goes the neighborhood. This is just out in Buckdeck Byway, if I remember correctly. Travel to Buckdeck Byway and protect the citizens from the retreating gangs. Indeed. Actually, I think I'm going to kick Price as well to grab General Morgan. I'd rather have the move fasts, I think. And I'm also going to take a moment to deposit a few things. All right, so we have successfully defended Kaineng Center, but that doesn't mean that these gang members are done with. I really like that they're continuing this, right? That there's, like, they do a good job of showing a progression of events in this way, and I really appreciate that. No, I maybe didn't need... I'm not going home empty-handed. Hand over your gold. You've lost and you know it. Go back to the hole you came from. Well, they went down quickly. Citizens are going to help stand up, too, which is really cool. We need to take these guys out fairly quickly, though. We've had enough of this, say the peasants. Wow, these guys are going down very quickly. And of course, no more afflicted getting out here. Get away from you, hulking beast! Whatever. I know Merle, especially. Hey, Clean Star. Good to see you. Welcome. Just defended Kaineng Center from an attack by the various ne'er-do-wells. And now we're trying to take them out as they're attempting to flee and, like, rob people on their way out. Not sure where the next one is. This way, I suppose, since that's what's indicated. If you want them, you're going to have to go through me first, says random Canthan peasant. There'll be a golden corner before I take commands about my killing orders from the likes of you. Ooh. Gold channeling rod. I think that's just down this way and over. It's cool going through routes of Kaineng that I don't usually take. There's a lot of interesting routes and roads here. Okay, apparently it's dye day. Pink, white, and now a black. Very nice, very nice. I want to do something about this guy. My rice wine, you thief! Looks like someone needs to quiet you down, human. I really do enjoy something about the some of the streets here in Kaineng. Get some more damage on these peasants. Yeah, I don't need that chest. Stay away from us, you savages! That's another Canthan peasant. I'll show you just how savage we are. This is the Corsair commander. What's going on in my backline here? Oh, the firebrands are getting us. Yeah, and General Morgan's out of We Shall Return juice. Tell him to save up for it, though. There we go. Yeah, those firebrands use rod gorts and stuff, so I think that's probably what was doing it. I should probably be a bit more strategic in my targets. By which I mean specifically look for some of the enemy elementalists. I'm gonna go grab that break hammer in a moment. Listen to Airy Heart of Fire and determine her fates. Wait, where is this? You fool! You have cursed us all to a life under the tyranny of the Ministry of Purity. At least the Ministry of Purity doesn't murder people for their gold. I'm no advocate for the Ministry, but I hardly see criminals as a viable alternative. No, the Ministry of Purity just kills them for their ideals, for thinking differently. Is that really so much better? I know what the gang's plans were. Your allies brought these mercenaries here, and now they run rampant through the streets. You knew the plans of 2 dead men, but don't presume to know what drives me. We're each individuals with our own motivations. Oh, and what's your motivation? The Ministry took someone from me, someone who is very dear to me. I fight to stop others from having their lives destroyed for the sake of peace and security, even if I must fight alongside criminals to do so. If that makes me evil, if that makes me a monster, strike me down, here and now. If not, I bid you farewell. I just hope you're as good as you think you are, because thanks to your actions, you're one of the few remaining people standing in the Ministry's way. I'm going to allow her to leave. Well, I don't think joining the Jade Brotherhood is the best way to strike at the Ministry of Purity. I certainly understand where she's coming from. Okay, let's go see the guardsman for my reward. But she has a really good point. Like, we knew the plans of 2 men that are now dead, Apep and Ryson. And this means that the Ampha and Jade Brotherhood have an opportunity for new leadership. They could potentially change things around, turn things around, what they're about. They could splinter into a bunch of smaller factions as well. Thank you, Gurudo Senso. You've scared those fiends back into their holes for the time being, it seems. It will take them quite a while to muster enough forces to try to pull something like that off again, and something tells me their credit isn't going to be good with many mercenaries anymore. I, for one, don't plan on waiting around until they've regained their strength, and plan on hunting them down to end this once and for all. Girudo Senso, thank the gods you're here. A group of peasants have taken to the streets to protest the Ministry of Purity's increase in power, and show opposition to the ever-restrictive policies they have enacted. While they are unarmed and have made it clear this is an entirely peaceful rally, the Ministry of Purity has dispatched a squad to intercept them and suppress the demonstrators by whatever means necessary. One of my men saw their orders, and Reiko has declared them militant partisans and given her men orders to kill them on sight. We have protested this, but are tied down by bureaucratic nonsense. They say it can take days for a resolution permitting us to intervene or ordering the Ministry to stand down, and by then, the demonstrators will be nothing but unmarked graves. Please, go and warn the demonstrators. And if you can get them to Chiquang Skyway, there are places they can hide until the Ministry calls off their search. Speak with me when you are ready to travel. I have a boat waiting. I'll stop this bloodbath before it starts. Ministry of Opposition. Okay, so now what we're seeing, and some of this is like moving a little fast, but what we've got here is we've got a group in terms of like what's happening to kind of get to the point. But what we've got is a group that is trying to peacefully protest about the Ministry of Purity's overreach and increase in power and all of these sorts of things that we've been seeing going on. And the Ministry is not going to take that. And so they want to stop them, and the processes to stop the Ministry from stopping them are not particularly good. So we need to try to do something ourselves. Try to get there ahead of time. But this is something that they do, right? They're trying to quiet dissent, trying to control the message about who they are and what they're doing and all that sort of stuff. And those efforts of control have consequences. So, Ministry of Oppression. Are you ready to travel to Watchin Bazaar? I had a bad experience at a political rally once. Count me out. I'm ready to travel. Yeah, with Reiko's when the Ministry was turned against us. Shing Jea, you may remember, was one of the peasants in Tsumai village when we were defending them, and the Tengu came to help. And then the Ministry attacked. Are we going to sit here silently obeying the Ministry of Purity while our friends and family keep on disappearing at night for speaking against them? No! Are we going to? I hope you're going to end that sentence with run. And the answer is yes, because the Ministry of Purity is on their way here now, and they don't have a rest in mind for you. Those tyrannical, Naga-loving... Can you please insult them and run at the same time? We really need to get out of here. Cool that we're back in, or we're in the Jade Brotherhood area. That's now cleared out of Jade Brotherhood, at least for the moment. Shinji must survive. I don't like all this running and hiding. We shouldn't be forced to flee from our government just for speaking our minds. It feels like we're letting them win. You seem to be some of the few people around here who aren't blinded by the Ministry of Purity's propaganda. Standing there and letting them slaughter you and say you attacked them would be letting them win. Sometimes people need to give their lives before others realize the direness of a situation. If we cannot solve this peacefully, I will die fighting them. Martyrdom only works if people know you were martyred. We didn't save your life, only to have you throw it away and be deemed a traitor. Good people, human and Tengu alike, died, so you could live. If you wish to make such a sacrifice for others, make sure you are not doing so frivolously. How can you sit there and tell me to do nothing? Well, you take up arms against the Ministry of Purity. I know your history. You're a hero. You are a killer? It isn't as noble when you say it like that, is it? I have slaughtered thousands, simply because someone told me it was for a just cause. But something you'll learn over time is everyone thinks their cause is just. The Ministry of Purity feels their cause is just. Reiko may be evil, but the men and women she has tricked into obeying her are as much victims... It's hard to navigate and read at the same time. Are as much victims as the rest of Kantha. So, yes, I kill them like the killer I am. And if they were given the chance, they would kill me, like the killers they have become. But that does not mean I have to like it. So what? The great hero of Kantha is to become a pacifist? You've suddenly grown a conscience after years of fighting wars, slaying beasts, and defeating armies? It is true. I have spent many years in combat and taken many lives. Each time, I felt that I have allowed good to triumph over evil. But now I see the Ministry of Purity, an army so intent on defeating evil that they have become the very thing they wished to eradicate. I looked at them, and I saw myself, gullible, idealistic, willing to do whatever was asked of me, so long as the intentions were good. Evil acts with good intentions are still evil acts, Shinji. Make sure that in your quest to destroy evil, you don't become it. Seems you aren't the emotionless killer I thought you to be. I'm sorry. Don't be. Truth be told, I was rather surprised myself. I guess years of this stuff can impact you in unexpected ways. Unexpected as it may be, you're starting to sound a whole lot less like a killer, and a whole lot more like a hero. Zairi says, I cannot allow you to pass. Why do you insist on creating turmoil on our lands? Creating turmoil? Zairi, the Minister of Purity was sent here to murder these people. I don't believe you. The Ministry wouldn't do that. Reiko would never allow it. Reiko ordered it herself. Don't believe me? Go speak with your allies and ask them whose blood taints their blades. The answer should be clear to you after seeing the terror on the faces of your countrymen. I don't know what to do. Do what you know is right, Zairi. Do what would make your father proud. Very well. Go now, and I will buy you some time. Zairi. Go before I change my mind. Yeah, Zairi is too good for the Ministry of Purity. And Zinji said, "Thank you, Gyudo Senso. I know now the burden you carry, and I am honored to call you a friend." Yeah, it's an interesting speech that's going on there. An interesting discussion. A little hard to kind of parse while running at the same time, but so I'm going to take a moment to kind of roll my brain back. Yeah, so talk about, I think one of the things that's really important that's being pointed out there is everybody thinks their cause is just. This is something that can be really troubling to know how to deal with, especially in politics, where everybody thinks their political position, like they're holding to that position for a reason, right? There's something that they think is good and right about what their political position is, and we have to be very careful in politics about demonizing the other side just because they disagree with us. There are times when the other side does go too far, is too far in the way that they're doing things, but sometimes the goal is the same, to try to create a better society. But the idea of what that looks like and how to get there is different. And that's where we need to be able to have good and open discussions with each other. But things get so heated that it's really hard to have good conversations. And everybody thinks, like that line says, that their cause is just. And like, there's a certain truth to that too. Like, we just went with the white mantle when we got there to the white mantle. We just went with the shining blade when we went with shining blade. And you can say that their cause appears just, but or the sun spear cause, right? I mean, is stopping Abaddon worthwhile? Yeah, absolutely. Did it have to be gone about in that particular way? Maybe not as much. Or joining the Luxons versus the Kurziks, right? Each one thinks their cause against the other is just, but what is their cause, you know? And so there's a lot to think about there. And again, a lot of what they're talking about here kind of fits a little awkwardly into a lot of what we've done in the game and a lot of what this game is. I think it's a good message and a good thing to think about, but this is an awkward game to kind of deliver it in, just because it fits very awkwardly with what the game generally is at large. But anyway. You reached them in time. That is excellent news. I fear this is not the last time civilians will be standing between the Ministry of Purity and their goals. Unfortunately, the Ministry has shown they have no tolerance for dissension and no pity for those who stand in their way. Again, this is part of the us versus them demagoguery, where they build up the us, and so they have to build up an equally strong other to be able to keep maintaining that strong us, that strong cohesion, and that leads to more conformity, more authoritarian actions to create a bigger and bigger them so that we can intensify the us. And yeah, there's so many parallels to recent events at the time of this stream, for anybody who might be watching the VOD far into the future, that I don't necessarily want to get into here, but we could discuss it on the Discord if people want to. But it's a tough mentality. It is a tough mentality, and there's a lot of conspiracy. Part of what happens here, of course, is that Reiko is setting herself up as the arbiter of truth. This is something we have to be very, very, very careful about. If we set up too limited of an arbiter of truth, where it's like, I know what the truth is, and so I'm only going to listen to those people who match my confirmation bias. We have to be really, really careful when we're doing that, because it's very easy for us to then be getting basically taken over by a cult. I mean, the Ministry of Purity is basically a really large cult at this point. Not willing to listen to other viewpoints. It's squashing dissension. I mean, it's a demagogued political movement, but and a militaristic one. But, you know, it's pretty intense. Anyway, so they have no tolerance for dissension and no pity for those who stand in their way. More and more citizens are starting to question the Ministry of Purity and are facing imprisonment or death for speaking out. I fear the streets will run red with the blood of our people before the Ministry of Purity gives up the power they have gained. For now, we celebrate the lives saved and pray the world becomes sane again soon. So what's indicated here is, like, the Ministry of Purity, like, we're not the only people who are objecting to what they're doing. We're the most capable person, I suppose, but there are plenty of other people, ordinary citizens, who are like It was really easy to be on board with the Ministry of Purity when it was taking out the afflicted. Hey, Fear. Welcome. Any arbiter of truth, or of really anything, always faces the same issue. Who controls the controlling instance? Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, the Ministry of Purity, when they were just taking out the afflicted, I mean, welcome regardless. But yeah, so the when they're taking out the afflicted, really easy to be with them. When they're taking out the gangs, there's some amount of going with them, but some amount that can seem like, wait, you're not doing this through the proper like justice system, right? Like the afflicted, there's no need for the justice system. With the gangs, maybe there should be. Then with the Tengu, like that's definitely stepping over the bounds. And then as they're continuing their conflicts and stuff, it's escalating, and more citizens are like, this is going too far. Like, you've finished the afflicted thing. Why are you continuing? Like, and the Ministry of Purity is like starting a terror campaign basically against the citizens of Cantha, and that starts getting people real uncomfortable. And then there's these growing anti-Ministry of Purity sentiment, but it's also a really powerful movement that a lot of people have kind of like given themselves to. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Very helpful, by the way, to have the incoming fallback there for that particular quest. Okay, Cowlin, what you got? So this is the remaining? Yeah, this is the last 3 Imperial Guard requisition orders that we're going to be getting. Yes, this one. I knew we could count on you to volunteer, but we are short on time. The Minister of Purity has moved off of Shing Jea Island in order to hunt down the gangs of Kaineng, and we all know how that is going. They thought the Sensali had lost the will to fight, but that's exactly what the clever birds wanted us to believe. The Sensali have already surrounded the monastery, and it's only a matter of time before they break through the gates. The Ministry is nowhere to be found, and we're the only ones close enough to reach Shing Jea in time. Say the word, and we'll depart. Those Tengu don't realize they were attacking the School of Hard Knocks onto their heads. Okay, this one can be quite rough. I think I want Livia again here. See how that does for me. I don't think I need Verada's Aura, though. Maybe I should check. This one can be really difficult. This isn't the final part, but I think of this as like one of the harder missions. I should check to see what this... Right on Shing Jea Monastery. Monastery. So what I'm going to check now is if any of these enemies... Okay, they have Rada's Gaze. Or they have a Spiteful Spirit Bar. But they do not have Rada's Aura, which is the main thing that I wanted to check. They do make minions themselves. So it's not necessarily a bad idea to have Rada's Aura. I'm just not sure how much she actually uses it. I could give her Rada's Gaze herself, which isn't the worst plan. Yeah. I think I'll give her Verada's Gaze rather than that. So that way she can bind minions as well. And I think rather than Aura of the Lich, I'm just going to give her a Flesh Golem here. Flesh Golem's a nice big tanky lad, so... This is another one actually where Ebon Battle Vanguard of Honor is probably not terrible. But maybe I want Technobabble. I also want to take a moment to clear out my inventory, so I'm just going to run a quick ad break while I do that. I should actually go down. I have to get over to the Shunlight chests first, too. Oh, terrible. I got iron from that at least. Okay, good. Got iron from that raiment. That's what I was hoping to get from it. Let's see. Those are both identified. Small is not. Drop off my Imperial commendations. Iron. Okay, and the rest of the stuff can be sold. Hooray! Yes, I'm sure I want to sell this channeling rod. All right. Well, here goes. Like I said, this one can be quite rough. One of the other things that we're seeing here, by the way, is that the Ministry of Purity is running around a lot. And not necessarily keeping defense in mind. They're just going on the offensive. So wherever they want the offensive to be, that's where they're going, and that allows them. That means that they create openings for their enemies to potentially exploit. I don't know if there's going to be enough stuff to make Gaze of Fury make sense here, actually. I think I might give him Gaze from Beyond. Is that redundant with Blinding Surge? I don't think so. A little bit more blind doesn't hurt, is what I'm saying. Actually, no, let's just go with Spirit Rift. It's not the best damage. Well, I mean, it's good damage. It's just, like, kind of awkward. But I'll take some additional damage. What we do for the glory of the Canthan Empire. Are you ready to set sail? Raise the anchors. So, I like some of the stuff that this does. We see that Interim Headmaster Menlo. Thank the Six you have arrived. The Sensali fell back to regroup when you arrived, but they are many in number and will be back soon. So, of course, Master Togo's dead, right? The gate won't hold much longer, and the ward that Headmaster Amar created on the staircase grows weaker by the moment. There are more forces on the way. The Sensali have the Ministry completely surrounded. We were barely able to get here ourselves. But what of the Ministry of Purity? And where's Sin? It would seem chasing political dissidents is a higher priority to them than defending the lives within these walls. Even with the favor of the gods, I still fear we are outmatched. We just need to improvise. Quickly, I need rope and any empty bottles you can find, and every drop of lantern fuel you have. Found some rice wine bottles, but they're full. Then empty them, my child. Yes, Headmaster. There's a little bit of a comedy bit here. So Master Togo, of course, was the headmaster, and he's dead now. So Menlo's taken over. What do you have planned? We can construct explosives out of these items. We can either throw them at the enemies over the walls, or place them on the ground as traps. Brilliant. Here's the rope and fuel. Now, where are those rice wine bottles? I'm emptying them as fast as I can. Come talk to me when you need one. You know what's wrong with people? They just don't know how to relax. What? Oh, sure, here's a bottle. Headmaster, the Sensali are coming back. To the gates! So yeah, we're now going to be getting attacked in all sorts of directions. This takes over your bar. You can either throw it as a firebomb for 300 damage, or you can place it as a trap. It does 300 damage each second for 3 seconds, and inflicts a bunch of burning. It also sets all of your skills to cooldown. So if you have any skills with long recharges, you have to wait for their full recharges, which really So yeah, these are maybe useful, but not as useful as you would hope. We need to move some of our forces to the north side of the monastery. We have to hold them in the choke point. I think there's a bunch of Canthan guards here that we can command like the previous one. It's not immediately clear that you can do this, though. Yeah, you can see the trap going off. Oh, and we have to defeat the Tengu, and interim headmaster Menlo must survive. So yeah, anyway, as I keep trying to say, but keep getting interrupted by dialogue, Menlo has become the headmaster here, which I think is really cool that he's like taken over as the interim headmaster. And I like the world building involved in that. Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense too. Although I do not know where Sin is. I feel like it would make sense for her to be here somewhere, but... Anyway. We can hold them. Just keep fighting. The walls! They're coming over the southwestern wall. You seem surprised. They may not fly, but they certainly aren't afraid of heights. Move our forces is needed. We must hold strong. And those deal a lot of damage. They really suck to pick up with certain elementalist bars, though, let me tell you. Is that recharge they stick all of your skills on. Wow, why am I getting so many dies today? It's more surprise than anything else, but... Yeah, make sure you grab those Canthan guards. So that way you can actually get them to help you in battle. My goodness, this is an absolute mess. If Apprentice G dies, by the way, you won't be able to get any more of these bottles. As you can see, they are quite helpful. They are greater in number, but our wills are stronger. Whatever you say, Menlo. I'm going to put an improvised fire trap on these stairs. Akora, please stop being dead. panic is creating a lot of problems. Okay, we've got some minions over there helping hold down the fort. All these panic triggers are not great for us. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that clears out some of that mess. Oh man, those panic triggers are awful. Oh, I should absolutely be summoning a golem for this. Need more things to get panic put on. Stand strong, my brothers and sisters. The Six smile upon us this day. I have no idea where Menlo is. He's a monk, so he's probably running around somewhere trying to keep people healed. Yeah, there he is. My objective is mostly to not die. I assume we already have a flesh golem somewhere. Minions don't necessarily show up when you bring up the thing. Focusing on trying to figuring. Boy, not speaking well at all. Trying to make sure I'm paying attention to where I need to be for countering the bulk of the enemy forces. Again, these panics are real bad. Mesmer. There. That'll help a lot. Aiming those well into the middle of the enemies is really important. I have the whole giant ally panel closed. Most of them are dead now anyway, just Xi and Menlo alive. Because otherwise it's real hard to see what's going on. They just keep coming! There's so many! This is it. They're sending in all of their forces. Okay, so this is the last defensive part. If we hold them now, victory is ours. Still have a nice collection of camping guards, thankfully. Apprentice, I need some booze. Bottles. Oh, man. I will not stand right there. Oh, Livia died. That's not great for us. Don't suppose you have another one, do you? Nope. Yeah, we're getting kind of wrecked here. I think we do resurrect for whatever that's worth, but I'd rather not test that. Ow. We're out of explosive bottles, in so much as the person who gives them to us is dead. We've done it! We've won. But barely. Very barely. Thank you, Gyurudo Senso. Without you, the monastery surely would have fallen. Headmaster, our scouts report Ministry of Purity boats on the horizon. Always so timely. It seems it is time for us to take our leave. Leave? But you're the heroes of the day. I've seen what the Ministry does to heroes that do not share their convictions. I heard rumors about your falling out with the Ministry, but I did not realize the extent of your disagreement. Perhaps if I speak with them on your behalf, I could speak with Reiko. I thank you for the offer, but I think it's due time I speak with her myself. Whew. Boy, that was, again, I suspect I may be able to resurrect there, but I'm glad to not have to figure it out. That was what we call a clutch victory. I'd like to thank Interim Headmaster Menlo for healing me. Yep. Hello, Cowlin. Well done, Gyurudo Senso. You defended the monastery and, perhaps more importantly, greatly weakened the Sensali. This was a desperation move, and their numbers will be greatly depleted by it. Of course, that hasn't stopped the Ministry of Purity from using this attack to propose a new law banning all Tengu from Kantha. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that the reason they were not there to defend the monastery was because they wanted it to fall to the Tengu, just so they could point to that to pass their hateful law. But I digress. This was a great victory, and you have our thanks. I would say you should stay and celebrate, but I believe our mutual friend would like to speak with you in Shenzhen tunnels. Ah, yes, that does seem likely. Thank you. So yeah, wouldn't be surprising at all if the Ministry of Purity wanted to let Shing Jea Monastery fall to the Sensali in order to be able to enact things, in order to be able to kind of move things in their direction, as it were. I want a slightly different party than what I've got right now, for a number of reasons. So I'm going to pick the bottom two members, and I'm going to need to add... Well, let's grab Zenmai. Zenmai and Price is probably good. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'll be changing Zenmai's bar in just a moment, but... And mine, for that matter. Technobabble's not going to be much good here. So, I need to go back there, but first, let's talk a little bit about that one. So, I was kind of talking about it a little bit, but is very concentration-focused. One of the things that they've done is they said, okay, so the world has advanced, right? So, how has it advanced? Well, Master Togo is dead. He was the headmaster of the Shing Jea Monastery. Now, it makes sense to maybe promote somebody like Vang, but what they've decided is that Menlo takes over Shing Jea Monastery. For how long? Don't know. I certainly hope that in Guild Wars 2, when they have Kantha, the Kanthan expansion come out, that there's some mention of that period of time where Menlo's headmaster. I don't know where Sin was in that. I feel like she probably should have followed him around. I think that this occurs after Hearts of the North, so theoretically they were already at that wedding. Hopefully they didn't have a falling out or anything. But yeah, so it's advancing forward, and we see that the world updating like that is something I think is really cool and really important, and I'm glad that they thought about that detail and included it. So I got a bunch of loot that I need to take care of. So let's take care of some of it. Cesta's usually salvaged into iron. Shocking, I know, but here we are. Okay, I think a bunch of this stuff needs to be ID'd. So we're actually almost done. The next quest, I believe, is the last one of this. So that does mean we are going to end Winds of Change early. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do after that. I mean, I have some stuff that I want to do. It's just a little awkward to have it at the end of this here. What do people think? For VOD purposes, I may temporarily cut the stream when Winds of Change ends. Just that way I can have a clean break for the VODs. But curious to know what people think about that. You know, y'all are there, right? Yeah. Anyway, I need to go. I will be looking at some of the rewards and stuff as well. Natsuko Merchant, I want you to take this stuff I don't need. Thank you. Alrighty, sounds good, Fear. Let's see. So I need to go to from Tanakai Temple. I do have some missions in hard mode to complete for Guardian titles on another character, so I might do... Does this seriously not go anywhere? Alright, well, this is a dead end. Right, back up this way. And over, so I can take the actual stairs. Wait, now I'm all kinds of confused. No, I just need to go this direction. Well, I was going backwards. In my defense, this is a very large outpost for some reason. I have no idea why it's so big. Ah. Why are my eyes all... not itchy. I feel like I've got like a eyelash or something in that one. Okay, let's go talk to our friend. Oh, let's that's right. I need to change up Zenmai's bar and my bar. Zenmai just seems appropriate to bring here, so. She probably doesn't need that. Ressig's not bad idea. Dash, let's give her Black Mantis Thrust as well. And I actually kind of like... yeah. Sacrifice suffers from some healthy gen. Yeah, you know what? Let's go with Mark of Insecurity. Seems like an interesting choice. And I actually like the idea of Critical Eye here. Cool. And I want to drop Technobabble because I don't think it's going to be super helpful. What do I want here? I could bring Never Rampage alone. Oh yeah, Elias, I think I'd rather have Nightmare Weapon on for this. And I'm going to actually give him Spirit Burn. This is a little bit more single target oriented. So. Smooth Criminal could be decent. Pain inverter might be good too, though. I'm just going to bring the Battle Standard of Honor. We should have a number of allies show up during this, so. Boy. Have I gotten that lash out of my eye yet? Ugh, eyelashes do not belong in eyes, let me tell you. They belong around them, not in them. Get some water in while I can. Hello, Miku. There's that little rat. Knowing what I know now, there's no way I can leave things alone. I can't forgive Reiko for what she has done. The only words I have for her now will be spoken by my daggers. And what of Ashu? Do you still think that he can be saved? I still think there's a chance, and I have to believe that there is. With a strong enough will, anything in this world can be overcome. Now is not the time to falter. I've learned that there is a garden where Reiko and Ashu go once every week. They are still guarded, but not as heavily as they are when they are within the city. That sounds like our best chance to get at them. I want to avoid any more innocent people getting caught up in this, or hurt by this, if it's possible. When do we leave? Heh, as soon as you are prepared. Just give me the word. Alright. When this all started, I don't think any of us knew that we would end up here. I wanted to believe that there could be a better way, but the Minister of Purity has become overly zealous. Notice, zeal is not a bad thing. It's when it overcomes sense that it becomes a problem. And they're too dangerous to themselves and to others. The people that are following them truly believe that what they're doing is right, and that's the greatest threat. The only chance we have to stop this now is by removing Reiko. She won't stop until she has guided Kantha to her ideal. It is true that she has done good for the people, but at what cost? You know as well as I do how things will end. The only people that will be safe are Reiko's chosen. I could never live in a world that trades freedom for security. That's not really my thing. I've been able to come this far because you have been there. So, what do you say, hero? You've saved Kantha once before. Will you help me save it now? 10,000 experience and an Imperial Dragon's Tear. I will. People need the freedom to choose their own path. The final confrontation. It's finally time. We need to put a stop to this before things can get any worse. I can't do this without you. Are you ready? Well, let's finish this. Or this will be a difficult fight. Let's take more time to prepare. Miku, of course, joins us. The final confrontation. This, by the way, this map, if you don't recognize it, is actually in the Shing Jea arena. So, that's cool. It's a good way. I like when they use PvP arenas to get more use out of them. I'm impressed to see that you've come here. It looks like you've finally grown up enough to stop running from your problems. It's too bad you haven't also gained the wisdom to know when to leave well enough alone. You're right. Maybe I'm not as wise as you. I've stumbled in life, and I've made mistakes. But I've followed my heart, and done what I believed to be right. I've learned from the lessons that life has taught me. There's Ashu back there. That's why I know that this has to end. The change begins here and now. Ashu, Reiko has used you. She turned you into a symbol in order to give herself power, to push her own agenda. I remember the days of our youth together. I remember your smile. So tell me, if this is the life you've chosen, then where is your smile now? I think you've said it quite enough. So what if he has furthered my ambition? People need hope. They need a symbol to rally to. I gave them hope, and I gave them the will to fight. What have you offered them? You are just outsiders, meddling in the affairs of Kantha. You're just another problem for the Ministry of Purity to solve. That's enough. I believed in your cause at the start of this. I have gone to great lengths to make this world a safer place, and you have turned that against me. You have used the people of Kantha. You have used me. It ends now. I will not allow myself to be used as a pawn ever again. And I cannot allow you to use others. We're beyond the point of settling this with words. Show me the strength of your beliefs. So yeah, phantasms will be made of like party members and stuff, is my understanding. I understand your words now, and we wish to aid you. Should you have us? This is a fight worth fighting, and you need our help, says Zinji. Cantha will be better off once I have purged our lands of foreigners and unwashed peasants like you. We're actually doing damage to the Grand Illusion. Find Mr. Reiko among her phantoms to bring an end to her ambitions. Honorable friends, you thought to face this battle alone? Your will is our blade, and we will stand at your side. It will take more than these savage animals to stop my vision from coming to fruition. I have yet to do this in hard mode. Looks like we got beaten here by the Tengu and a bunch of peasants. So much for our grand entrance. We'll just get to the point then. The destiny of Cantha is not for one person to shape. It is a path that we all must forge together. Your attempt on my life is laughable. And the more of your despicable friends you bring, the more will lay dead on this field. Don't get the wrong idea, hero. We're not here to contribute to your legacy. It is you who stands with us. Our might will overcome Reiko's lies. Daisuke joins us because we did the quest. Filthy vagabonds, you dare strike at me directly? The streets of Kaineng will run red with the blood of all you hold dear for this travesty. So yeah, the more of the some of the side quests and stuff, there's different decisions you can make that will bring more allies to join you. You can see the Grand Illusion is almost over. There's no stopping my vision. The seed is sown, and the sheep are ready for their shepherd. Strike me down, and I simply become a martyr. Another will take my place. Cantha shall be purified yet. So yeah, we have some Jade Brotherhood that showed up. Ampha, some of the peasants. It's one of those things I think is really, really cool is as you do some of these side quests, deep down inside, some part of me always knew that I was being used. As much as it pains me to admit it, I never wanted to be powerless again, not after the afflicted, and yet that was the life I found myself trapped in. It's over now, Ashu. She can't control you anymore. You can come with me. I know it won't be easy, but we can learn to be a family again. We can make things better. Don't misunderstand me, sister. I am thankful for what you've done, but I am not going with you. With Reiko gone, the Ministry of Purity will follow me. I'll never be powerless again. I'll never be afraid again. The people here need me, and they love me. They'll look to me to show them the way. Our lands are in chaos, and only I have been blessed to show them the correct path to walk. I can make things better. I can make Cantha whole again, and I can make it stronger. This is my life now. The people that we were died that day, along with our family. You're just a ghost. But now I am free to move on, free to make things better. I no longer have to walk in Reiko's shadow. I have seen where she has failed, and I have learned. I will not falter, and I must look forward. Go, and don't appear before me again. There's no place here for a shade of a past long since dead. I understand. You've made your choice. If this is how you wish to live, so be it. Let's go, friends. There's nothing more for us here. You know where to meet up with me. I do. and it'll take quite the trek to get back to you. So yeah, in that final fight, the side quests that you've done will mean more allies will show up. You'll normally get the Tengu, the Shing Jea and the peasants. Was there another group? But the Ampha and the Jade Brotherhood only show up if you do Zenmai's quest and Spare Airy, respectively. I feel like there was another one in there, but I could be wrong. No, I think it was just those 4. Yeah, because then Miku was the 5th ally. Yeah, having more allies doesn't necessarily change a whole lot with how difficult it is. It does make it a little bit easier, I'm sure, to have more show up. But doing some of those side quests. Oh, and they're here too to celebrate with us. That's cool. That's cool. It's funny, isn't it? We can fight so hard that we can do so much. That we can fight so hard that we can do so much. We've saved countless lives, and yet somehow it's the hardest thing to save someone from themselves. I want to believe that some of the person that I knew still exists within Ashu. I hope that he can find that again and grow into a better man and be a better leader. But I know that I no longer have a place. I no longer have any part to play in his life. The people do not need to follow him. What happens next is in their hands. Kentha has the freedom to choose its path now, and I have the freedom to walk my own. Through all of this, I've come to understand that the world is a larger place than I'd ever imagined. I want to go forward and embrace it, see where life takes me. There's nothing more exciting than the possibilities that the future can offer. Then why not travel with me? Go with you, huh? Well, it is true that you're the only person I've met that can get into as much trouble as I can. We've already overthrown a ruler together. What more could we get into? Overthrowing one of the gods? Well, that was a joke, as if that could ever really happen. All right, I'm sold. From now on, let's travel together. I don't know where it's going to take us, but I'll make sure that we get there in style. That you do, Miku. That you do. Hey, Eri. You showed my brothers and sisters remarkable compassion, despite our crimes. And many of them rewarded your mercy with violence, and for that, I am sorry. I know it hasn't always been apparent, but I believe you made the right decision. Hey, Sor. My people and I owe our lives to you, and I hope the damage Reiko caused to our relationship with the Dragon Empire can be repaired. But regardless, know that you always have a home within the Yangchu tribe, wherever that home may be. Hello, Daisuke. It would seem Zenmai's eye for talent is as sharp as ever. You have helped my friends and my country, hero, and for that I give you my thanks. Perhaps there are some outsiders worth trusting after all. Hey, Zenji. You have done so much for Kentha, and yet so few will know that. Many will mourn the death of Reiko and look at you as a criminal, but trust that I know the truth. And from this point on, I'll dedicate my life to telling your tale. Hey, Miku. It's finally over. I'll admit that I had hoped things would turn out differently, but at least there's closure now. Ashu will live his life as he chooses. In the end, can you really ask for anything more for the ones you care about? 10,000 experience and an Imperial Dragon's tier. Hey, Eco Rules. Hero unlocked, Miku. Much like a black cat, where Miku goes, trouble follows. The hardships of life have taught her the value of laughter, and given her the resolve to make the best of what's around. You can now add Miku if your party is not full. One of the things that I like about Miku, aside from her having my favorite base aesthetic of any of the assassin heroes, although some of Zenmai's outfits are really cool too, at least in my personal opinion. She comes with her own set of greens, green daggers, which is nice. The other thing that's really interesting is that you can then get Miku and Kirin as both heroes for your party after having done the Hearts of the North stuff with them together, which is really cool. So, all right, so we got the Imperial Dragons tier as well. I don't really have anything I want to do with it, but it's nice to have done the stuff that gets Daisuke there. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry to do this in hard mode. I have not done it in hard mode on anyone at this point. Doing it in hard mode allows you to unlock Zayri as a hero, and that is a true accomplishment. Let me tell you. It is, boy howdy, not easy. So Ashu has decided to continue leading the Ministry of Purity. What that's going to end up translating to and how that's going to end up working, I don't know if we entirely know. But that is his decision. That's what he's going to do. We can come here to the Imperial Guard Requisition Officer and get one of these weapons. I don't really need any of these on this character, so I'm not going to grab one of them. Nice to have an enchanting staff there, though. So I'm just going to hang on to this. For now, I'll put it in here at some point when I've opened up space, but I got all these identification kits from doing War and Creta. And then there's one of these. Yeah, this one allows you to be able to get just straight up the Imperial skins as inscribable weapons that come with an inbuilt mod, which is really nice. But I also don't really particularly feel a need for any of those. What I'm most interested in, actually, is these. From here, I can get Imperial Guard lockboxes, which can contain some really cool stuff. So I'm going to just get these. Now, it is possible to get more of the requisition orders. If you remember, the fashion designer down there will trade ministerial commendations for buy a single one of those and got a mini Reiko. That's pretty cool. Anyway, the officer down here or the fashion designer will trade ministerial commendations for those requisition orders at a rate of 3 to 1. So every 9 of these, I guess, because it's 3 to get one of these. Yeah, so every 9 ministerial combinations can become one of these lockboxes. There's some really cool greens in here, so we'll see what we get. I got Beichi's Bulwark. This is a command shield, not particularly exciting, but I can throw this on a hero, and it's probably better than their default. I got 10 lockpicks. So that's pretty cool. Some Tengu support flares. Some more Tengu support flares. And some more Tengu support flares. So we got a lot of Tengu support off of that. Not the most exciting set of things, if you ask me. The thing that I'm most interested in, actually, is the Shinobi Blade daggers. I think those are really cool. Real hard to put that on General Morgan when General Morgan's not in my party. Right now, General Morgan's default shield is just worse than this, so let's just give him that. Beichi's Bulwark is big. Yes. Heraldic shield is not something I need. Okay, yeah. I'll worry about putting stuff away later. From a later on this character standpoint. So I want to finish some thoughts on Winds of Change. It's interesting. This is definitely the longest. Yeah, so it's almost been 2 hours into the stream now. Definitely is the longest. So the other Winds of Change, or the other Guild Wars Beyond content parts, including doing the Mox quest, the Mox quest chain, as well as doing a bunch of random War and Crita bounties for the first part of one of the sessions. All told, we're 3 streams, and this is the 4th stream for Winds of Change. So it's as long as the other parts put together, which is in terms of the amount of time it took me to do all of them, which I think is really interesting. Just a neat detail to take note of. The story that they're telling is also a really interesting one. Fundamentally, it's a story about power getting to somebody's head. We don't know how things started with Reiko. She clearly wanted to make a difference. She clearly wanted to clean things up from the Afflicted. Remember, after the... This is maybe not the most... Let's find a... You know what? Let's go over to the docs. After the events of... the main campaign, right, factions. Shiro's dead, but the Shirokin and the Afflicted are still a problem. They're still hanging around, causing all sorts of chaos and pain and death and suffering. And we don't really do anything about it. We just leave, right? We're done. Nightfall needs us. Eye of the North needs us. Tiri needs us, whatever. We go elsewhere. I mean, it just is what it is, right? But what they've done... I don't need these things open either right now. So what they've done here is they've said, look, this is a big problem. This is something that needs to be taken care of. I don't need all this HUD up. So we have somebody from the Ministry of Flame, Reiko, Mr. Reiko, who wants to do something about the Afflicted. And, you know, was directly impacted in terms of her family. Her niece and nephew, like, her nephew basically almost dies and gets rescued by Guardsman Janai. Her niece has vanished. I don't know if she knows or not, but fled up to Kryta. For better or worse. And so what we've got here is she wants to do something. She wants to get rid of these Afflicted. The source of the affliction has more or less been stopped by these heroes coming in and taking care of them, right? We took care of Shiro, source stopped, but the Afflicted are still there, they're still causing problems, and it sounds like they're still able to convert people into more Afflicted. And it needs to end, and she's going to do something about it. She manages to rally people to do something about it. She manages to get everybody together to take down the Afflicted. And we come in back to Cantha, canonically anyway, in time to join in on the final cleansing process. Taking out the last of the Afflicted. It's taken years. The Ministry of Purity. So she starts off by working from within the Ministry of Flame. But she eventually founds the Ministry of Purity to purify Cantha from the affliction. I mean, that's their initial goal. And so they use rituals to undo the corruption that happens. They take down the Afflicted, and they have their great victory. And I think that's really cool. Like, it's really cool to see follow-up, to see, oh yeah, there's fallout from what happened. Anytime a game has And Life Goes On, which Guild Wars Beyond is basically And Life Goes On type content, right? That's something that I really appreciate, and that's something that I really enjoy. I like it when things move the world forward, when things don't stay in a status quo. And so having the world be advanced, both in War and Kryta, because, you know, we can talk about all of Guild Wars Beyond here, both in War and Kryta and Winds of Change. Hearts of the North is a different sort of thing. It's a kind of exploring things from another side, which was a fun style of content to do as well. It was kind of a super version of the bonus mission pack in some regards. But the War in Kryta says, no, look, things have continued to advance. I mean, even Eye of the North did this, right? Like, Eye of the North did this thing where, no, the world has continued to advance. The Shining Blade are continuing their fight against the White Mantle. And we see that mostly with the Asuran angle of things, right? But the Ebon Vanguard also show, like, the fight against the Char continues as well. And there's a lot of callbacks, and I enjoy and appreciate that. But then War in Kryta continues to advance and continue to develop that continuing world development that's happening in Kryta. And that's something that I think is really cool to have. And Winds of Change does that also for Cantha, and I really appreciate that as well. And so we have this arc here, and Winds of Change. So Mr. Reiko, as we come in, is like, had this great victory. But she's also gained a lot of power, and this has gotten to her. I don't know where she was initially. I don't know what her initial motives were for joining a ministry, what sort of person she was. It wouldn't surprise me if she got into the ministry to try to have power, but clearly she wanted to institute some good changes as well with trying to get rid of the Afflicted. But that power of demagoguery, and who knows how much her mesmer ability has influenced things as well, right? Keep in mind, she was a mesmer. With the ability to do that grand illusion, how much that was allowing her to influence Ashu, how much that was allowing her to give moving and powerful public speeches. But the Ministry of Purity built up its power, and she didn't want to lose that power, because keep in mind, that zeal, that energy, that force requires some sort of external enemy, because an external enemy works as a uniting force. People are all inherently very different. We'll have many things in common. For example, if you're watching this, you probably like Guild Wars 1. So we all have things in common, but we also have a lot of differences. A lot of personal preference differences. Some people like this thing, some people like that thing. I mean, there's different favorite flavors of ice cream. There's different types of meals that people like, different colors that people have preferences for. All sorts of things that way. And it's really cool to have that much diversity in humanity, but it also creates division, because we tend to be tribalistic as people. And so having an external them allows you to empower a unity around a common identity of fighting against that enemy, fighting against that foe. You see that happen a lot in politics. For example, in the Cold War, there was a lot of us versus them, with East versus West, Russia versus NATO, and that sort of stuff. And that sort of conflict allows a certain sort of unified, galvanized cohesion. You'd get that in World War II as well. World War I was a big mess, but World War II had, a very strong Axis versus Allies thing, and that allows for those sorts of things. Or 9/11 did it in the U.S., where everybody kind of rallied there. You get these us versus them things that give people a point of common unity, a reason to be united, and a reason to come together. But it requires that externality, because as soon as that external threat is gone, then that sort of cohesion kind of breaks down. So this is something that you can see, at least in U.S. politics, quite commonly, where our political parties, because of the way that our voting system and everything works, we cannot have more than two parties having effective amounts of power. So effectively, our parties are coalitions of smaller parties that are more aligned with each other, or historically have been grouped together or whatever. And so those coalitions, what ends up happening is, if any one party gets into power, holding all of Congress and the White House, then their unity of we need to take power from the other side breaks down, and they begin having internal conflict. And then stuff continues to not happen. So, these sorts of, unifying forces are really important. This is what Reiko was trying to maintain, is by having some sort of thing to point to as, this is the thing that is making Cantha impure. This is the thing that is making Cantha less than perfect. We need to expunge this thing. By having that, the Afflicted, easy target, but then it moved to the gangs. Still an easy target, but maybe a more complicated one. The Tengu, to some extent an easy target, but also a more complicated one, a more fraught target. And then it just starts going after people who disagree with the ministry at large, become the target. And that's kind of what's being indicated towards the end there. It's not... There are certain parts where I think Winds of Change really kind of trips over itself a little bit, or could have spent a little bit more time building things up. I'll get to those in a moment, but we see this progression where, to kind of fulfill her role as a demagogue, people are turning to Reiko as a source of truth, as a source of hope. Ashu is a source of hope. And so by having that, she's able to channel basically people's faith in her and what she's saying into as a movement, an emotionally driven movement, to form cohesion and thus give her power over that cohesive unit, by giving them a them, by giving her us a them to fight against. And again, this is a very sort of common thing to happen in the real world too, so it's very easy to draw parallels to things. So I think it's a very powerful narrative overall, and it does a really good job of demonstrating the changes that are happening. I mean, it's called Winds of Change for a reason, and there are a lot of changes that happen to Cantha through it. So it's the sort of thing where if I enjoyed playing Guild Wars 2, I'd be really curious to hop into whenever their Cantha expansion drops, and just seeing, okay, what has happened here in Cantha in the intervening time. How are these times, these Winds of Change times, the time of Shido, the Betrayer, how are they remembered? Because, I mean, this is a period of a decade or so, a little bit less. How is that period of time remembered? It'll be really interesting to know. And hopefully people get to find out in Guild Wars 2. But anyway, the for me, while I overall like what they're doing with Winds of Change, and I like a lot of the content, and I think they have some really neat quests that they've done, particularly Courier of Falcons one is a lot of fun. That stands out in my mind as a particularly enjoyable quest. There are a number of places where it kind of falls down for me and is a bit weaker. Gameplay-wise, definitely Cleansing Haiju Lagoon. Mr. Cho's is also really rough, but Cleansing Haiju Lagoon is especially frustrating to deal with. It's an especially difficult mission, and I kind of wish that one had been designed a little bit more forgiving than it is. It's totally doable, but let's just say there's a reason people like to use the Blood is Power sort of exploit, as it were. Not exactly an exploit, but sort of AI exploit, I guess, to do that one more easily. So definitely some of those defense missions are a lot more engaging than Thunderhead Keep is nowadays, though. Then for me, narratively, like, are there any other quests that especially stand out? I mean, Cleansing Haiju Lagoon is far and away, like, the one that stands out as, like, the most frustrating. I think they did a good job of making interesting enemies to fight overall, so I appreciate that. I really do not like all of the new Afflicted Soul Explosions. The Afflicted Soul Explosion is, in my opinion, one of the worst mechanics from factions, and doubling down on it is not something I particularly enjoyed in Winds of Change, but overall the Afflicted section is, I mean, it's a substantial part of the beginning of it, but it's only about like a third or something, so it's not too big of a deal, I guess. I don't know. Certainly makes you want to be on a ranged character, though, let me tell you. But yeah, narratively, the big areas that kind of I wish they had done a bit more with are 100% the most important one is building sympathy for us, the player, about the Jade Brotherhood and the Ampha. Like, as a player, they're just generic enemies, right? They've been generic enemies in factions for years by the time this came out. So the Jade Brotherhood and the Ampha just read as regular old enemies to me. I think it would have been really, really good if they'd had some more stuff earlier on, like the Zenmai quest that we got was good for helping us see a little bit more nuance to the Ampha. I think that was really a good quest to have. It would have been really nice to have more stuff earlier on, somehow, maybe during the Afflicted Cleansing part, if the Jade Brotherhood and the Ampha helped us with that, or if we got stuff in during that portion that fleshed out and added more nuance to those particular groups. I think that would have helped a lot and would have done a lot to... Because, like, what's basically happened is our character is saying stuff about the Jade Brotherhood and the Ampha that's like, wait, where'd that come from? And it would have been really, really helpful, I think, to the narrative that they're trying to tell, to have spent more time, and I've talked about this previously in this series as well, but to have spent more time concluding or building up that conclusion, so that we, the players, can agree of like, yeah, a lot of the Ampha and Jade Brotherhood are villains, but they're not all villains, and they have different reasons for why they joined, and building up some nuance there would have been really good. It also would have been nice if there had been a little bit more build up to them going from let's take out the Tengu and the Ampha / Jade Brotherhood to these guys are acting like a totalitarian authoritarian state. Like, we get the quest of that with Shing Jea, and there's like some indication of that to some extent, but it's mostly not been focused on the Canthan people at large, and I think it would have been good if there had been a little bit more for that. It's not as important as the stuff with the gangs, I think, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more. I don't know. It's difficult to kind of weave in all the character development that they need to do with all the other stuff that they needed to do as well. I do like that this sort of serves as a point of introspection for our character. It would have been nice if we had had a little bit more of that spread out a bit, particularly in that quest with the protesters in Jinji, where we're leading them away and having that talk about how, I mean, our character is a killer and they're just following after causes that people say are good. And everyone believes their cause is good. It would have been nice if we'd gotten a little bit more of that sort of sentiment interwoven into our character a little bit more earlier in some ways, where like bits and pieces of that are kind of like coming together for them more obviously. Just because that speech kind of it doesn't come out of nowhere exactly, but it's a bit it's very self-critical in a way, but it's also the sort of thing that I could just see where somebody's had these thoughts and now that they're having to express them, they kind of like solidify into shape and they kind of have their own realization. This is one of the things that I've found is that I can have like thoughts about stuff, but when I have to start actually putting them into words, those thoughts become more concrete, more clear, and fit together better and kind of bring their own realizations and revelations as I say the same thing twice, as I kind of go and express my thoughts. So that's maybe not unrealistic or whatever. It just would have been nice from a narrative build standpoint to maybe have a little bit more going into that. I think the big thing is having a bit more lead up to the sort of authoritarian nature against even like anybody who disagrees with the ministry. Would have been nice to have gotten a little bit more of that. But maybe some of the ambient dialogue would have alluded to that, and I just didn't find it all. I certainly wasn't looking for it in all that much detail, because there's a lot of ambient dialogue out there. So, anyway, that's, I think, going to mostly conclude it for Guild Wars Beyond. We've gone ahead and seen it all now at this point. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here in Guild Wars Beyond. And I'm really glad that they added all of this content. It would have been nice to have gotten more pieces of it. I mean, it'd be nice for it to still be going on, quite frankly. But they were also kind of like, what stories do they tell now? Stuff that would have been nice to have gotten. It would have been nice to see something with Ilona. I know that they have talked about it sort of post-talk, as it were, or after the fact. And talked about how it is a bit difficult to know what... Ooh, this is kind of a neat looking thing over here. To know what to do with Ilona. The big thing that I know they're thinking about was doing kind of more of a Kirin style-ish thing, where we are playing like Palawa Joko aligned undead, as Palawa Joko is gaining power in Ilona, which may have been interesting to have. Other stuff in Tyria would have been interesting as well. I think the War in Kryta was the most important thing for sort of establishing what was going on, though. So I appreciate why they focused on that specifically. And then Hearts of the North also had a lot of importance for kind of developing things. But it would have been nice to have gotten, I don't know, a little bit more stuff on the dwarf front, I think, is one of the big areas. Frankly, it would have been cool to have more going on in Ascalon somehow, but that's just me loving Ascalon and wanting to see more stuff with it, so it's not really... Like, we got an entire expansion that dealt a lot with some of the Ascalon stuff with the Eye of the North, so... Anyway, I think that's going to... I think I like the idea of go ahead and breaking the stream here, and just kind of break this stream up into two parts. So what I think I'll do is I'll end the stream here and come back in a couple of minutes, maybe take a short break, and then come back and start the stream up again with more Guild Wars. We'll be continuing Guild Wars, but hopping on to a different character. I've got some Nightfall missions to do in hard mode for Guardian title track, as well as Divinity Coast. So I think I will do those. So thank you all for watching this part. For anybody watching the VODs, thank you for joining along. I'd love to hear what you think about Guild Wars Beyond. Any thoughts you have about the lore that's being developed in them in the comments below, as well, and all of that good stuff. And until next time, take care, everybody. And for those here live, I will be back in just a couple of minutes with more Guild Wars. So please stick around. Take care, everyone.